Hey, everybody. Welcome to our video. I sometimes call it keeping it spiritually simple or just hey. And today I'm with Heidi Pop, my popster friend from Cali, and I'm on the East Coast in DC. I'm Sandra. And Miss Heidi Pop and I are like little sisters from different misters or something, because we have kind of a similar crazy humor that we like to share. But Heidi, I've noticed that you've been popping around on vacation a little bit, hitting some different demographics for with your family. So you want to share with the audience a little bit about your travels?
Sure, absolutely. And hello, and thank you again. It's so nice to see you again. Yeah, I'm excited. I think we've been back over a week. I lost track of time there too. But we've had the strike going on out here and a lot of little crazy things. And but this trip was in our minds. We wanted to visit my sister. I wanted to see how she opened her cafe. We have friends across the country. But our pocketbooks are like, well, we can't go on vacation. Programming. And finally, my giant is like, we're going because we're going to go stir crazy here. We have friends and family all along the way. We just, let's trust, let's jump. So we did. And it was awesome. About 15 states we covered. And we had to hotel it a few times, but we ran into the coolest people when we did. And what I just enjoyed the most about it is the fact that I brought in all of my folders and journals and books, like all these little things to have like my own little office as we drive for 10 hours or something. And I didn't even look down once. I was so captivated with how gorgeous this country is. And leaving the California frequency, I'm not poo-pooing California, but it is a heavy frequency here in LA, and just seeing how amazing the country is.
Mhm.
You realize how heavy we get programmed being on social media and all these platforms. So I got to interact with people from all over the place, living in their towns, being a guest in their towns, and really seeing the human nature, the true humanity. The heart is winning out there. I truly feel the light is very much so winning. There was only just a little sprinkle of areas where it was like, we don't want to stop now, or, ooh, this just feels crazy. Just a couple. The rest was majestic. And it was such a treat and honor. I'm so proud of my kids. It wasn't a screen trip for them. Occasional checkouts, but they were engaging too in what was around them. And I just feel like I got to put my money where my mouth is, or walk the walk a little bit, and really get out there with humanity and know that, what a fun ride. We're so lucky. We're so lucky. And every time we choose to participate in little wars that go online, or, um, you know, back and forth with people we don't even know, just being keyboard warriors and things, I just feel like we can lose a little bit of our humanity. And that's
Mhm.
what we need to win this consciousness war. We need to remember how human we are. And we have all these beautiful emotions and feelings and experiences. We just have to get out a little bit more. And honestly, you've done a wonderful short about smiling, and it's like you get what you give. And we were a true testament of that. Even Giant got pulled over for a speeding ticket. And he was doing it for me because I had to go to the bathroom really bad. And but but this fella came up, and you just don't know what kind of interaction you're going to have. But we were calm, cool, funny. We engaged. He wound up telling us about his road trip. He's a dad, like just a warning. And it was like, I turned around and told my kids, I go, you know how this could have gone totally different if the giant was a jerk. But we weren't. And they were like, that was the nicest policeman ever. And I'm like, yeah, and so were we. We had a beautiful
Mhm.
human exchange. So that was a lot at once, but it was awesome. Honestly, we'd still be on the road if we could, but he's working a Taylor Swift concert this week. So I guess he got some work. And now
Well,
I'm sending action.
yeah, we have to always come back to reality, but it's so nice that you could have done that, because I think right now with the energetic climate the way it is, many of us are getting very stagnant. And like you said, they think they're being keyboard warriors with so much participation and engagement, not realizing how much of that energy you're actually pulling into your physical energetics, and then those that you love in your own home demographics. And it becomes very unhealthy. So just getting out there, putting all that stuff aside, and just being in the present moment of seeing the drive, the next couple miles of the actual drive, and interacting with the children, and how your energy changes, and then Hubster's energy changes, the kids' energy changes. But I am curious, when he pulled you over, did your urgency to pee get put on pause?
And it was right there. I could see it. It kind of did, but even he said, "You gonna be okay, ma'am?" Because I kept saying, "I really have to go to the bathroom." And then when he's doing his thing in his car, I'm like, "Should I just walk?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want him to think I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
good."
Yeah, you're escaping.
I was all right. I know. He was very kind. Yeah, yeah. Isn't it interesting? And most people, all these keyboard warriors exchanging, a lot of times they're just fighting each other. They're just fighting
Yes.
someone else's opinion on the situation. And honestly, sometimes they're not even engaged in the actual situation itself. So it's opinion versus opinion and judgment versus judgment. And it's like, there's your toxicities, people. It's,
Mhm.
I think, I don't know. It's just time to get back in the heart and go within. That's how you traverse it a little more safely and smartly and securely, not fighting each other or this person's right and this person's wrong. And it's all that stuff is outside yourself. It's like it doesn't resonate anymore. It just doesn't.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
with the programming of everything being outside of yourself, that now you need to be your own investigator and your own detective team, and you're going to find out this information and that information, but then you take yourself away from experiencing today in your present life and those around you who are also in your energetic presence to learn from you as you from them. So when you place that energy back upon you, to I'm gonna this and that, not everybody's job is to be that warrior. Some are just to anchor the energy and be present and just be, I'm just sightseeing and I'm just taking it all in, and I'm allowing myself to translate it with whatever physical and energetic spiritual sensories I'm currently working on. And I did a video today on being human and the importance of staying in your human, and to stop thinking you're the spiritual being having a human experience, or you're a human having a spiritual experience. It doesn't matter until you learn to work with the mechanics of the human. None of it's going to get developed in the way that you want to accelerate that part of your life until you come back in and take a look at the mechanics and the motor of your physical self, and all the widgets and gadgets and components that are there in that software system that is there to translate and tell you things. And the number one thing is your inner understanding of things, your intuitiveness. You're tapping into that GPS of your of a higher portion of who you actually are as a physical being, that's giving you information. And we're taught to override those, to tap it out, to because it's not tangible. So I did a video on that and the importance of that. And the more you work with that and have a more of an intimate relationship with yourself, and get away from all the craziness and assuming this is your position. I'm supposed to be, a loudspeaker. Oh, I'm supposed to be the alarm puller. Oh, I'm supposed to be the drill sergeant. I'm supposed to be the keyboard crazy person. I've got to fight for everybody else because I'm fighting for the innocent. And it's like, wait a second. You need to give everybody time to find their voices, find your own place and space through being physical as a human. We're trying to get out there and try to have any understanding or perception of what's really going on. And we're in this classic thing right now too, with the the SOF movie being out, and then the B movie being out, and how they're literally competing with each other, and both of them are massive drama on all ends, right? And
Right.
so they're all trying to drown each other out. So you've got people out here trying to, I know this about the producers of this, and fighting this fight that you're like, truthfully, you don't know that. You don't know that
Right.
information. You
Right.
know that the
Right.
concept of that particular movie absolutely has been going on for thousands of years. And thank you, mass media, for getting it out there and letting people talk about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but all of the fight over who, what, underlining stuff is a complete distraction from taking you away from enjoying. So I'm
Yep.
glad you were able to just get in the car, and there are things that we can do in life that we don't have to spend a whole lot of money in
It
order
was the
to get
cheapest
inner
trip we ever did.
enjoyment.
Yeah, the most economical thing we've ever done. And we also aren't like that in general. We're not like, oh, this has to be like this place. Or we broke down and had fast food. We had a cooler full of snacks, like it was, you don't have to spend a lot to have an incredible experience. And that was the best thing. And it's interesting. There are a couple of instances that I ran into some people where some might call them NPCs, like, oh, they're not present. They don't know about SOF. They don't know what's happening. And I'm thinking, I'm just in their presence. And I'm like, do they have to? Like, what they're doing right now is, this woman is, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, please, thank you. How are you? Where are you coming from? Safe travels. Like, she was just being her authentic human self. And it was beautiful. I don't need to download her on the dark agendas right now. Like, what's that going to do for her right now? When she gets that light bulb that she's intrigued, well, there'll be information out there for her. But for this moment in this time, she's very real. She's having her human experience, and I honored her being there. Like, that was enough. And then I go online and I see people calling each other still like sheeples and all this stuff. And I used to do that. Back in the day, I was kind of more cheeky about it. I wasn't so rude. But I remember being like, I can't believe these people don't know this information, and then shove it down their throats. But now I look in hindsight, I'm like, that's who I was at that time. I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I'm definitely going to be honoring the human in everyone, because they're a part of this land that we share with my kids and my generations to come. I want it to be full of grace and love and respect. No one's going to respect me if I'm like, hey, you're being human wrong. Like, you're supposed to do it this way, and you're supposed to know all these things. And because you don't, I'm going to call you an NPC. It's like, it's not, I'm like, I'm kind of done with all that. So it was a very cathartic trip of being like, oh, just get back to one. what is it that I can do? And as far as humanity and uplifting them, you got to honor the others too, wherever they're at, because we're all on different journeys. So, well, who am I to say you're humaning wrong?
Oh yeah, and you know what? And you're harnessing your energy so that there's no judgment. You're just let them be what they're doing, and you know what you're doing. And that's all part of the, becoming part of your sensory system, is that you can see things and not throw shade on it. You can see things and not put fires out that fires haven't started yet. You're not there to, plant the sod and the seeds for everybody else. You've got to really learn to house your own inner garden to the best of your ability, and to strengthen and hone in and fortify that, and just be, because the calm in the middle of the chaos is the person who's probably going to wind up orchestrating things once they can see how things go down. I used to tell people, if you're, people say you're assertive, you do this and that, especially when it comes to jobs, because I'm very good at organizing, but I know my place. I know when I need to be a leader and when I need to follow. And, I would get a few comments along the way, and I would say, let me tell you something. Your ship's going down. You're going to want me on it. In the meantime, but for a while, I used to get my feelings hurt, because I thought, oh, I'm getting judgment, and this and that. And so that squelched a lot of my own authentic creativity, because I didn't want to speak it or do it because there's so much criticism around about it. But when we really evolve and get intimate with ourselves, and we've gone through these different levels and layers, let them be sheep. Let them be. Let them be. You just surrender to what is, and you do the best of your ability to maintain and anchor the who of you.
And when you do that, you become powerful in its own sense. That's when you can activate others, just being in their presence. That's where this telepathy comes online. That's where all this interesting stuff, like they might have this thought drop in and you're the right person to answer their question. Like all these really cool, amazing things happen when you, stop fighting that big fight. I had to do this big clearing recently. I don't think clearing is the right word, but for a while I was running off of proving a point. Like it felt like I have to prove myself. I was getting shouldered out from quite a few people that I supported and cared about deeply. And I was like, do I really care what they think of me? Is it about that? Or is it I didn't feel heard? Like, because I felt like I wouldn't have been shouldered out had they truly known me. So I felt like this need to, well, let me just clear this up for you. And then I'm like, why do I have to do that? I'm being shown these aren't my people. It's okay. It's okay. Not everyone's going to like you. It's okay. My family does. You do. Like it's okay to let go and not force things to happen. And that goes with just meeting somebody that you randomly meet. You can't forcibly open them up and say, how much truth do you know? Oh, you're missing all these things. I got to fill it in for you. Kind of two different thoughts there, but you did say something that made me think of, I'm so glad I traversed that whole phase of insecurity. It really went outside myself, worrying too much what others thought. And now it's just like, let it roll. Let it roll. Not only will the audience find itself, but my ride will be a little easier if I stop worrying what others are thinking about me.
That's huge.
I merged two thoughts, huh?
Yeah. No, I totally, I was merging.
Do you follow my ride?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Absolutely. And anyone that's paying attention and is adaptable, they're going to figure it out too. That's very, very powerful, because as we are evolving and changing, we're going through multitudes of metamorphosis on multi different levels. This isn't just one cocoon and out the other end. That isn't how energy works. And we're going to come through and we're going to develop ourselves. And then all of a sudden, maybe those around us aren't fitting in that vibratory section there. Or maybe we're seeing something different in that particular climate of friends or tribes. And we're like, I don't know if and that's all part of authentically detaching from the program and finding you, because then you realize, I was just trying to force myself and why I'm rightfully belonging in this group. And you need to hear how I feel. And maybe I've been a little too passive and now I need to be assertive, to the point of, do I have to be any of that to any of you? No, I don't. Right. And that, my friend, what you just said is very powerful. Very powerful.
Thank you. And I can feel it now. I was thinking it before, but it's hard to put it into action. And I thank the road for that, because, unplugged a lot more, detached a little bit more, and got to have those. There's nothing like IRL experiences. Even not just the other humans, the animals we met, the scenery, the Ozarks, just driving through and seeing the simplicity of a rocker and a homemade sign, quilts or say, I'm like, and it's not, you didn't feel like a methy town, you can, I felt some of those, you can feel the towns were like, okay, there's a blanket of drugs and alcohol, like these people are not present. But these people were peaceful, they were present, and they're choosing simplicity. That was beautiful enough to just heal all of those little scars. And it was like, it's so like the one foot in front of the other isn't so hard anymore. You're not pulling your boot out of sludge with every step you take. You're just like, you're just taking steps. And a lot of little metaphors, but yeah, these little flashbacks. I'm still relishing in all of it, quite frankly. And we had to rush home. I was going to have another week in Wisconsin. And I don't know if you've heard of Amy Chilson yet. I think you might really like her. She's my buddy, Amy Chilson. She does Adventures with Amy. And we were going to get together and collaborate and co-create a little bit, and with my kids too. But we had to run home to the pets. We had this moment of like, we either stay for another week and risk it, or get home and just settle this out. We had a couple sitters that were under duress and one that didn't work out. Anyway, we chose to go home early. But now I see it, and the experience we had coming home, I'm like, we were supposed to have those experiences. We came home at the perfect time. So I missed seeing her, but she knows too. She gets it. She's like,
Mhm.
you're being called, follow the call. We'll be able to do this another time. So there was no like, um, there's no like yearning or longing. It's just like remembrance of a beautiful experience, and that was that. There's no like, I wish I wasn't here in LA. It's just like,
Mhm.
cool, I had that experience. Now I can implement it, integrate it into this, and share it now. And that's been so fun.
Yeah, and like you, energy is very dense here in DC too. And it's when I can get away from it, then I can come back in. And I used to practice this in the early 2000s. I'd go away and I could tell within the miles of a certain thing, I could feel the and
Yes.
it would hit me. And I would go, ooh,
Yeah.
I'm in that DC bubble there. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And the more I would get away, the more I could feel it, the more intense it would get. Then it would just be mild, where it was like, click. Yeah, I know where I am. I don't even have to look at the road sign. I know where I am. And I could be, 2 hours in another direction. But when we carry that energy back with us and allow it to sort of continue to marinate through our cells and rejuvenate, we can carry the experiences that we just had, just like you can, from every experience you just had being outside of your home demographics and the state demographics, and just pulling in that love. And you can see that not everybody's in this fight.
I know, that's the thing.
When you're
Yes,
out there, it's sort of like none of that existed. So I need to get out
exactly.
of my bubble.
Yeah,
I've been bubble
exactly.
factoring it. I've been creating
Yeah,
bubbles,
yeah.
you know?
I'm so grateful for the knowledge because we've been on this journey for quite some time and I continually to learn every day. But, when I got so deep into the Black Ops programs and all these things going on,
Mm,
and it's intense. You have to be ready for that. And I appreciate that, but I know I'm being guided. Having had that information, great. Put it away. It's there when you need to converse about it. But for now, I understand the current mission as of late is the heart and the humanity, because I've literally tested that. I've been with strangers who don't know the Black Ops thing, and that stuff's not going to serve me in that moment. What was serving me was this um, exchange, this heart
mhm,
centered exchange. And so I'm like,
mhm.
okay, I can have all that. I don't have to participate in all of it right now. There's um, yeah, I'm trying not, I guess I'm starting to censor a little bit because I don't want to poo poo on any parades, but I do also, I also took enough of a breath to take a step back and look at the web of stuff going online, the social medias, and there's regurgitated storylines all the time. I mean, what cracks me up the most is my mom used to say this too. There were preppers since World War II. Like they've been
Mhm,
prepping since Vietnam.
mhm, mhm.
That's nothing new. The sky's falling and it's the end of the world's coming. Always happening. Watching my granola mom friends go through it has been a little tough, but you're like, they have to go through this phase. But then there's also the phase of just storylines. I mean, I'm seeing people argue online that don't live in California about California and the LED light things right now, the light bulbs. And then my locals and I are like, we did this 10 years ago. Like they
Mhm.
told us 10 years ago they banned them. And then they started sending us LED lights, which we just didn't put in. It's like we already did this conversation. Why are you all regurgitating old stories or the old stories shown in a new way just to keep people fighting, just to keep the division going? There's your civil war. So being able to step out and look at the web, it was like, I'm going to actively choose now. What am I going to really participate in?
Mhm.
Even if I see my pals in there, I've got to be mindful of all this beautiful energy I just, culled and farmed, and what I've done to myself and what I'm continuing to do. I have to really be mindful of what I'm engaging in because that will affect all of me. Um, and it will put my name into something that I'm like, I don't need to be in that conversation right now. I don't feel this social urgency to be included, in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a storyline I've practiced for decades now, and that's called doing harm with your energy. So when you go to respond to something or participate in something, you really have to stop, drop, sit, connect, become aware, and say, is this really where I'm supposed to be, or am I being herded towards it, or is this my ego pushing me towards it? And then if I do, what do I put out and what am I drawing back? And if you can stop, drop, sit, and become aware, 9 times out of 10, you won't push that button to participate. You'll think,
Mhm.
you know what, I'm not sure where that information's going, and I don't know if I want to pull that back towards me. And I don't
Mhm.
want to be one more in the pot that creates to anybody else feeling drawn in to it either.
Right.
So it's,
Right.
I call it doing harm with your energy. Energy is sacred. It's much more sacred than people realize. And the more you evolve and the more you go through these experiences of your human, the more you realize, oh, I don't have to participate in that. I'm good. I'm good.
That's powerful.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, it gets
So
your power
congrats,
back.
sister. Congrats. No, seriously. I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to that because right now, energetically, we have more and more people stepping into their power of, you know what, I don't think I'm happy with this relationship, whether it be with job, spouse, living, whatever it is. Some people who don't know why they're feeling agitated may become very disgruntled towards everything around them. But a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm not so sure this relationship's working. I think I've participated in something that I've allowed to get to this point, and I don't want it to be to this point, but I don't want to be angry with it. I want to say, okay, I participated. How do I strategically get myself to the next step for places of more freedom and make change and tweak my path? And I'm getting really loud messages right now, Heidi, that you are literally you just stepped on another vein of the path that's going to bring you to new information. It's going to simplify some things for you, but also draw more towards you as far as being able to have choices of where you want to go. What pushed your buttons 6 weeks to 9 weeks ago, I'm getting maybe even 12. It was already preparing you to change, but in the last few weeks, it solidified that. So we'll
I
see
can
what
see
comes
that.
up for
Yeah.
you and because sometimes when we change, it's a pivoting moment. And then the stage begins to open and new characters come in and the other ones just fade out. Characters could be information. They could be
Yeah.
so many different things. They could be people. They could be all kinds of things. It's just a metaphor for my scene just changed. My platform just changed. My theater just changed. The theme of my theater just changed because I'm changing and evolving, working with myself.
I love that resonates big time. Thank you. Yeah, I feel
Welcome.
that. I feel that. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of little people around me. I'm taking on my own classroom soon, and in a couple of weeks I have to start building it. I'm literally building an outdoor classroom. Thank God, with the help of the giant. But that is my new vision. That I want to make sure I'm like that road trip. I was fascinated with every single inch that we went through was now some sort of native reservation. Like you could see the lines on the map of what is their property, what was their property, their tribes. And I'm going to take that into the classroom and not like we killed them all and massacre, but in the presence of sacred grounds and gatekeepers and guardians and those who are entrusted to the land. And they're a little too young to get into what they're doing to them now. At least some of the areas I went through, the Navajo I think was the hardest. That was like, oh, because I just interacted with a few at gas stations and things. But um um yeah, I was given a gift. I was given literally a curriculum handed to me. Like when I had all those books at my feet that I didn't even touch, I was fascinated with my surroundings. That was the curriculum. And
Oh,
so I'm really excited for that. And then like our friends, I love my friends, the Freemans, and they in Arkansas. They left LA and moved to Arkansas, and they have their own little homestead now. Tons of chickens. They are culling their own meats. They're growing everything. They have a storm shelter, which was interesting to learn about. And it was so simplistically done, but it's a lot of hard work. But I'm like, there's my classroom. We're going to talk about everything's hands-on in third grade, and we're going to, start to finish, do our own gardens, build our own shelters. Very Rudolf Steiner, but Yeah, a gift was handed to me that whole 2.5 weeks. I'm like, oh, my curriculum's
Mhm.
done. So that was
Yeah,
kind of
and you
neat. So
have
and
these.
that and
Go ahead.
Mhm.
No, no, go ahead. We had a little lag there.
Oh, I was just saying in that regards, I feel that step into another. It's my timeline, but it's another thread, like you were saying. There's another thing, and it's kind of it. It's got my whole attention. So I
Well,
like that.
it's another dimension on that thread. Just like every year of life, you add more wisdom if you're really
Yeah.
learning your lessons and paying attention. It's just most
Mhm.
of us get to a certain point and then we turn around, look at a decade and go, oh my gosh, what was that hairdo? What was that? What was this? What was that? Right? But while you're in it, you're just enjoying it and having it. But that's how we evolve. And Mother Earth teaches us so much. And I like the fact that you're going to do the history a little bit without going through the doom and gloom by saying, okay, look, what's one responsibility that we could each take today? Plant a seed, maybe not use plastic, maybe try to aim for this, things that we can instill that empower them by not, throwing shade at the history, because the history's there and your age group's going to be too young to digest it. And you don't really need to put that in their psyche. They can learn that
Right.
later if they choose
Right.
to. And the fact that a lot of our history has been written for us and it's not as
Right.
factual as we know. So
Yep.
we're teaching someone else's stuff.
Right.
We're looking up somebody
I'm like,
else's definitions, which is why I love making up my own.
yeah. I'm like, these are a bunch of creator beings. We're going to create all year. We're going to create with everything. We're going to make our food, our snacks, if we're going to plant seeds in pots, let's make the clay pots. Like we're going to make our own main lesson book. So do we need to make the
Mhm.
paper for that? We'll make the paper, like whittle our own pencil. Like I just want everybody just busy, 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 busy hands, but creator beings and
Yes.
side by side doing it. That was the other thing you see out in middle America, side by side, helping your neighbor. I mean, I've seen it as memes online, and I have one lady in my neighborhood too, but their abundance of their gardens they share, and they have those little stalls. They were all over the place. People are,
Mm-hmm.
take one, leave one, help yourself,
Mm-hmm.
plenty of
Mm-hmm.
eggs, what we're craving for a new world is here. It,
Mm-hmm.
it's already being created by those that aren't on social media, I feel, and they don't get the recognition they deserve. But it gives you so much hope. It was a very, very trip full of hope. And what I have for the future now and for this next year, it's the doomsday cloud that follows a lot of conspirators. It's not present. And speaking on that too, the weather was breathtaking everywhere we went.
Mm-hmm.
Just normal as can be, beautiful. Get home, there's some geoengineering going on, and I'm like, are they creating it here so it goes across the country? But it also just was clean air. The land was happy. So when that little climate change narrative comes up, be like, well, actually, I've experienced opposite of what you're saying. I'll be able to discern a lot quicker. Teach those around me.
Yeah. You, you
What
you
they're
get
saying. I don't
you
know.
you just glitched a little bit, just so you know.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
Okay,
okay.
maybe because I said mhm,
No, no, I don't
I
think
said the
so.
climate
Nah,
word.
nah, 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 nah,
Okay,
nah, 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 nah.
not
I
here.
don't go there on my platform at all. I do try to be careful with my words sometimes, just because I don't need to be a loudspeaker for it, nor do I need to feed it. But I don't fear any topic, honestly. Just spirit never lets me get into politics, um, money, or religion. They've asked me to stay out of that. They give me answers. I kind of know a lot of stuff, but they asked me not to be a loudspeaker for it. But I wanted to go back about some of the trails. And, with my site, the way I see it when I'm doing my sky show, as I call it, when I sit outside and I ask them, okay, where would you like me to focus my eyes right now? And they'll give me a flash and I'll go, okay, I'll go here. And then literally I see the beings working, and some are human, some are not human, some are animal, some I've never seen before. And they're through sort of what I would describe as sort of like a silk silhouette, So I don't see them in Technicolor. I just see their movement and I can see shapes. And they have shown me for a very long time how they work to clear the energy. They're constantly clearing the energy. Whatever's getting put out there by whoever's putting it out there, they're working diligently on clearing it so we have cleaner breath, cleaner area of energy. But I also want to go back and touch base about what you're saying about, the air and the travel and having new ideas and things like that, and what we're talking about with social media and so on. This is an absolute fabulous tool, as we know, right? We're not saying that to anybody out there. It's a fabulous tool, but it's how you choose to use it and how often you choose to use it. It's like I have become more dependent on my cell phone for things, right? That I find that it's always sitting near me. And before it even buzzes, I'm checking it. And I have to sometimes at night literally walk it across the room to put it on airplane mode, plug it into charge, and get away from it. And then maybe just sit down and read or go stare outside or maybe watch some comedy or something that just over here that I'm not taking in more of it, or going to bed early or stretching or whatever. This is a fantastic avenue, but we also know what gets put through these airways. We know what occurs when we're on here too much, which can sometimes distort and change our nervous system. So now we become more riled up and think we're fighting the good fight when maybe it's not our fight at all. And we didn't stop to ask, this is this the best utilization of my human energy? Is it? And if it's not, then why am I doing it? Why am I overriding that and making myself get in there and do that? Because it disturbs my sleep. It takes my brain cells and takes them all over here. And then I'm missing out on some loving fun over there and things like that. So stepping away from that is a prime example of what you just explained. Look, we wanted a vacation. We thought, vacations cost so much money. How are we going to do that this summer? And then it's like road trips, stop and visit family, stop along the way. There's so much power and empowerment in what you just did that it blows away any Taj Mahal hotel or cruise or anything anyone could have ever done. And you created and solidified beautiful memories within yourself, within your hubster, within your children, and you brought it back into your brick and mortar establishment of your home. That's powerful.
It's powerful. I'm so grateful for that. When you were talking about what the gadgets do and everything, I couldn't find my phone for a while yesterday. And I mean, it was for a while and I was retracing steps and my daughter saw it. It was in the yard in the grass. And I was like, oh, that's right. It was literally burning my hand. Like I was shaking out radiation. I go, I got to ground it. And I put it in the grass and walked away. And then I forgot. And she goes, you're lucky the sprinklers didn't turn on. But they sometimes do too. Like if we have a screen moment, I go, okay, put it on a plant, pull it all out, or your hands. I'll be like, get it out of you. It was pretty funny. So yeah, we were less on there and I could feel it more now here. I mean, it's right here, it's on airplane, but after a use for a while, I could physically feel it. Like if it were black goo, it would be coming all down my hand. So it's like, oh gosh, take a break. Nothing is worth me finishing this thought if my hand's burning from my device. And I have all the things on it, stickers, radiation, all the stuff, and it's still. So this is all weapons of mass destruction. The social media platforms, everything. And dependent upon your perspective, dependent on how you are humaning out there, is the experience I think you're going to have. And so when it became a weapon and everything was heavy and dark, I realized so was my perspective of things. I assumed the worst of people. I was looking at all the dark stuff, which I guess you have to do, but you shift the perspective, you're able to see the dark, but see the light that balances it. And perspective is everything. So those weapons, like you said, I'm going to be using it to share my truths, to share my journey, to share what I'm going to co-create for the classroom, for kids. Like there's a way to use this weapon for the people, not against the people. And I think people are finding themselves conflicted with that now because of all this infighting and stuff that happens. So I do hope people can navigate that well, but we have choices.
You know, we
definitely
do,
have
and a
choices.
lot of this is just it's a disruption to our circuitry boards. And so we're getting a lot of mixed messages and mixed information because we're creating all this havoc by being in front of the electronics, period. And we forget the power of the mind. And so we can change our own energy instantly and work on the energy of the electronics. So that when we are on it, we create this safe space around it so that the harmful whatever stays at bay. It just transmuted, transmuted, transmuted. And then your energetics will go, okay, that's enough. You need to prepare to cut off now. We've held it up here for this long. Now you need to stop, let it go. And so I will make sure I pay attention to those kinds of things, whether I'm hearing it, seeing it, or feeling it, like, oh, enough time. I don't have to look at a clock or put myself on a timer, but we have the power of the mind to change so many things. And when we're on these electronics, we actually start becoming mindless, more mindless.
Yeah. Yeah. As intended, I think, like the mindless scrolling, it's like a bottle of wine. I mean, it'll just get you down, and people get addicted to that feeling. It's not the content they're looking at, it's the feeling of, oh, I'm shutting off.
Yes.
Which tells you a lot. When someone's craving the need to shut off, maybe they're just going a little too fast there in their life. But
well,
I've been
many
there,
people are very comfortable living in altered states of consciousness. They may meditate too long, or they la this too long, or they stay in the phase of anger, which is altered states of consciousness. Over talking, not listening is altered states of consciousness. So honestly, stepping back and getting more intimate with yourself and understanding your own sensory system a little bit, you learn to pick and choose. Oh, auditory is getting a little overloaded. This, or I'm sensing I just overloaded someone else. Woosah, back up a little bit. So learning to play with that, but we stay in altered states of consciousness. And sure, people reach for wine and cigarettes and psilocybins and long meditations and even listening to too many of the sophageal beats and all. It's always a need for something outside of yourself, versus wrap your mind, wrap your heart, step back, disconnect, ask your body what it needs, because it has every widget, gadget, gizmo, if you can just let go of what you've attached to it that's interfering with your circuitry board.
Ah, that was good. Yeah, that's it. That's beautiful. That's what I feel like when I met just the random peeps that don't. I feel like the random person in the middle of nowhere, the little counter girl, who's yes, ma'am, and she's so present in her moment. Whether she has a social media or not, she's not run by it, because she knew exactly who she was. And you saw it, and you saw how big her energy field was. It was so cool. So just piggybacking that is, I love that you can be aware of what you're doing and when, and it's very powerful to be your own regulator of the stuff.
Yeah, you got to unclog your transmitter. Our transmitters are just, it's like being in a room and everyone's talking to you at one time. You honestly, until you even learn to hone that, and you might get a couple words over here and a couple words over there and whatever, but after a while it's like, oh, I got to run. And so you run because you're looking for some stability somewhere else, but that also could be altered states of consciousness, right? But that's what all the electronics and all of this distractionary things is. It's like everybody trying to talk to you at once, and it overloads the system. And with the energies changing and the elevation of Mother Earth and all the other things, that nobody needs to really get into the physics or the quantum physics or all the stuff that are not important to understand. Just know they are occurring. How do you ride the wave and stay as stable as you can without weeble wobbling, falling over, disconnecting, or blowing the hell up. Because you will, you'll get sick, or you
Yeah.
blow a fuse in your shoulder or your back, or a few fuses up here, your eardrum goes, blow a vocal cord, whatever it is.
Oh man, human experience is fun. Sign me up again.
Okay. I'm just saying, I have to piggyback on what you're saying too, but we really have to think about it. Step back and get simple, people. It doesn't have to be rocket science to understand crap is happening around the universe. How are you going to know, when you're on a crap pile, when you're on a landmine, if you don't step away from all of it and get this in order? Get your human in order.
That's it. We know all this stuff's happening. Like we get it. We are you should. It's nice to learn, but ultimately, this is your captain. Get this together. You'll be okay. Keep it spiritually simple. I love it. That's right next to your head. Because as soon as you said simple, it was like my eyes went to the word. Yes, that's it. It's everything.
That's something that Spirit gave me a long time ago. It was keep it simple, Sandy. And I used to think I didn't have a lot to say over a few decades. I really didn't, because everything seemed very, very simple, very logical. Those were the messages that I would get. And I go, but that's not profound enough for me to share that with somebody. It needs to sound more high tech, or more like I have a larger vocabulary. I feel like, no, that's so I did that for a long time. And then 2020, when Spirit said, you're going to be getting on the computer, and I had a fear of those challenges. And I started looking through some of my old journals, and I was like, oh, I kept saying, keep it spiritually simple, Sandy. And then I was like, yeah, but you got to keep it spiritually simple, period. Hence that.
There you go. Beautiful.
That's it. Doesn't have to be complicated. All right, Missy. Well, I know the popster, you've got some stuff to do for the rest of the day. We're on a 3-hour difference here.
Yeah.
So you got the wee ones off for the summer. Your school's going to be starting soon. I mean, I don't know where our summer's gone, but let's not get caught up in these time warps. Let's not get caught up in, if you didn't know it was a full moon or a super moon, or if you didn't know it was a Lion's Gate, what do you really know? Right? What do you really know? It can all be a distraction. Tap into getting to know yourself, get a little more intimate relationship with you and the information you get directly. Maybe put down some of this stuff and just maybe coast a little bit more and breathe. Get on a raft, the raft of life, maybe just kind of,
yeah.
That's what I'm just visualizing there. The raft is like,
beautiful.
I like that. That's what they were just showing
that's
me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there was no ocean.
Because it is the most relaxing. Yeah.
It
is. Relax and get back to your just listen to your heartbeat. Yes. Start there.
Yes. And everybody, Heidi does lives on Facebook. She's got a channel. She always has interesting people on. So I'll have her link in my description. So please get on board, follow Heidi. She's got a lot of the messages and other people that have important things in there, and watch how some of her information changes through, and her content through all of this growth from her summer trip around 15 states with her family. So, maybe each and every one of you need to go on a trip too. Just step away from the chaos within your own demographics for even a day.
I suggest that big time. Day trips, even go somewhere you've never been and just have an exchange with somebody. That might just be enough work for somebody. That's all you have to do. Practice being human, a good human.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Heidi.
Thank you, Sandra.
Hang tight there for a second. Just say goodbye.
Okay.
Say
bye, everybody. Thank you.